Okay, I want to start today by asking you to do something a little dangerous.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
I want you to close your eyes. Well, unless you're driving, obviously.
Okay.
And I want you to just picture a scenario. And you had to be completely brutally honest with yourself about how this makes you feel.
A visualization exercise. I like it. Kicking things off right.
We are. So you're standing in your living room. It's a Saturday morning. The light is streaming in. You've got a hot cup of coffee in your hand.
Hmm.
You look around, and your life is stable.
Hmm.
It's secure.
Stable is good. Evolutionarily speaking, stable is pretty much the goal.
Stable is great.
Yeah.
And you have a husband who is the absolute definition of the good guy. He pays the mortgage on time. He remembers your mother's birthday without a Facebook reminder. And right now, he is in the other room playing a highly educational game with your children.
Okay.
He is safe. He's the rational choice. He is, the rock.
The good provider,
Yeah.
what biologists call high investment parenting.
Exactly. But then you look out the window, and a motorcycle pulls up to the curb. There's this loud rumble that sort of shakes the window pane a little, and off gets the gutter guy.
The gutter.
The gutter guy, the guy you hired to clear the leaves out of the roof gutters, and he's wearing a beat-up leather jacket. He probably hasn't shaved in 3 days.
Okay, I'm picturing him.
He definitely smells like gasoline and, I don't know, bad decisions. He looks like he would forget his own birthday, let alone yours.
Yeah.
He is a walking disaster for a long-term partnership.
Right.
If you gated him, he'd break your heart and borrow money he'd never pay back.
So, high risk, low investment. The kind of guy your parents always warned you about.
Precisely. But, and this is the absolute crux of our entire deep dive today, the woman in the window feels this pull, this magnetic, irrational, almost like violent attraction to the disaster on the motorcycle, while the perfect safe guy is sitting right there on the sofa.
She wants to run out there in her bathrobe.
She wants to run out there in her bathrobe. And the question is, why? Why does the gutter guy strut into our fantasies when we have biologically secured the good provider?
It's the classic trope, isn't it? I mean, it's the staple of every romance novel ever written.
It is.
The tension between the safe bet and the wild card.
But today's deep dive is suggesting that this isn't just, a bad habit. It's not just I like bad boys. And it's certainly not just psychological. We are not talking about daddy issues here.
No, we're talking about engineering. Biological engineering.
We're looking at a whole stack of research today that argues the female orgasm has a hidden agenda.
Right, that's the big headline.
A secret mission that might actually be working against a woman's conscious choices.
It's a fascinating idea. We tend to think we are in the driver's seat of our love lives,
Yeah.
We make pro-con lists. We choose partners based on values. But the research we're covering today suggests that while you are steering the car, your biology, and specifically the mechanics of the orgasm, is reaching over and just jerking the wheel when you aren't looking.
Wow. We're going to be talking about sperm filing systems, which sounds like, I don't know, office work gone terribly wrong.
Oracles. It really does.
We're going to talk about birds that live these incredible double lives. We're going to talk about something called the milkman effect.
And we're going to talk about why nature might have designed women to be, biologically speaking, dual strategy matters, why the body wants the husband and the lover, and how it tries to trick both of them.
So buckle up. We are diving into the biology of infidelity. And I have to say, just looking at this source material, it feels like we're about to reveal a conspiracy theory that's been running inside human bodies for like 200,000 years.
It does feel a bit like a conspiracy. But before we get to the how, the mechanics of the trick, we really need to set the stage. Because we need to understand why this would even be necessary. And to do that, we have to look at the female orgasm itself.
Right. Because humans are a bit of an outlier in the animal kingdom when it comes to this, aren't we?
We are distinct outliers, a huge one. If you look at the broad sweep of the animal kingdom, the female orgasm is elusive. It's a bit of a ghost in the data.
The sources mention rabbits and ferrets, right? I remember reading that and just thinking, do people really study ferret orgasms?
Science leaves no stone unturned. But yes, there's actually a massive debate in evolutionary biology about whether female rabbits or ferrets even have orgasms at all. Then you look at monkeys, colobus monkeys, stump-tail macaques. They have moments of what looks like excitement, maybe, a grimace of joy. Bonobos, of course, are famous for being enthusiastic and using sex for social bonding.
Right, the make love, not war apes.
Exactly. But the source makes a very bold claim here. The human female orgasm blows away anything else in nature in terms of intensity, duration, and its sheer complexity.
Which begs the question, why? Evolution is a miser. It's cheap. It doesn't usually build these high-energy, complex systems just for a good time.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't do fireworks unless those fireworks are helping you survive or reproduce.
Exactly. Evolution doesn't care about your fun. It cares about your offspring. For males, the orgasm is simple. It's just mechanics. He has an orgasm to ejaculate. It's a delivery system for genetic material. If he does an orgasm, reproduction fails. End of story.
But females don't need an orgasm to conceive.
Not at all. You can get pregnant without one. So if it's not strictly necessary for conception, and it's probably not just an accident of wiring, what is it for?
That is the million-dollar question. If it's optional for baby making, why is it there? And this is where we get that phrase from the text that I absolutely loved. Wily designers of the testicle.
It's a great phrase, isn't it? It implies agency. It implies that female physiology has been quietly shaping male biology for millions of years.
It's not a passive recipient.
No, it's an active architect. And to understand the human orgasm, the sources suggest we have to look at the quote-unquote adulteresses of the animal kingdom. We have to look at the disconnect between what we say we want and what our bodies are actually doing.
So let's talk about that disconnect, because it isn't just random chaos. There's a logic to it. The source lays out three main strategies. You've got the wife strategy, the concubine strategy, and the adultery strategy. Can you break those down for us? They sound like titles of very different novels.
Sure. So let's start with the ideal. In a perfect evolutionary world, a female wants a mate who has it all.
The unicorn.
The unicorn, exactly. She wants good genes, meaning he's healthy, strong, attractive, has a good immune system, and she wants good resources. He's dependable, he sticks around, he helps raise the offspring, he protects the nest.
The guy who looks like a Hemsworth but acts like a very diligent accountant.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But in nature, those two things don't always come in the same package. In fact, they are often negatively correlated. Well, the males with the best genes, the biggest, strongest, showiest males, are often swimming in testosterone. They're busy fighting other males or, frankly, mating with everyone else. They aren't the ones sticking around to feed the babies.
Okay, so that's where the trade-off comes in.
Right. So strategy one, the wife strategy, is when a female selects a male primarily for his resources and dependability. This is the good dad.
Our guy on the couch.
Our guy on the couch. He ensures the survival of the offspring through care. He brings the food. He builds the fence. He is the reliable choice.
Okay. That's strategy one.
Then you have the concubine strategy. This is selecting a male purely for his genetic quality. He might be a terrible partner, he might leave immediately, but his DNA is top tier.
And that's the gutter guy.
That is the gutter guy. Now, the adultery strategy is the biological attempt to have your cake and eat it too. It's the attempt to combine the resources of the dependable male with the genes of the exciting male.
You secure the resources from one and the DNA from the other.
You got it.
And this is where the stats get really, really interesting. Because I think most of us have this idea of monogamy being the human standard. We define ourselves by it. But the source brings up the milkman effect.
The milkman effect. It's a classic urban legend, the joke about the baby looking like the milkman because the husband was at work.
Right.
But there's real data behind it. The source references a blood type study from a British hospital. This was totally accidental. They weren't even looking for infidelity. They were just checking blood types of newborns for medical reasons.
And what did they find?
They discovered that 10% of the babies in this hospital could not possibly have been fathered by the mother's husband.
10%.
10%.
That is 1 in 10. You look at a row of 10 bassinets in the nursery, and one of them is a secret. That just seems incredibly high.
It is high. And to be fair, and to play the skeptic for a moment, the source does note that when they did a wider genetic sampling of the British population later on, that figure dropped closer to 1%.
Okay, that's a big difference.
It is. So 10% might have been a statistical anomaly in that specific hospital or maybe a specific neighborhood with a, very charming milkman. But even at 1%, the implication is massive.
Right, because even if it's only 1%, that's still millions and millions of people. And it completely destroys the idea that social monogamy equals biological paternity 100% of the time.
Exactly. And evolution works on the margins. If 1% of the population is pursuing this adultery strategy effectively, that trait gets passed down. And the source argues that the mechanism making this all possible, the thing that allows women to potentially have sex with her husband and the gutter guy, but have the gutter guy's baby, is the orgasm.
Okay, this is the part that just blew my mind, the sperm filing system. I need you to explain this because I think most people assume that once sperm is in the body, it's just a race.
A free-for-all.
Yeah, it's just swimming. May the best swimmer win. But the source is saying the female body is actually, what, directing traffic?
It's highly sophisticated. The claim here is that the orgasm acts as an administrator. Think of the female reproductive tract not as an empty hallway, but as like a triage nurse or a filing clerk with a very, very specific set of instructions.
Okay, so walk me through the mechanics of that. What happens with the husband's sperm?
So when a woman has sex with a dependable, resource-rich partner who maybe doesn't trigger that intense biological lust, the nice guy, she might not orgasm, or the orgasm might be less intense.
Okay.
The body recognizes the sperm, but it files it to the side.
Into the emergency folder.
Essentially. It's stored in the crypts of the cervix. It's kept available just in case nothing better comes along. It's the storage file. It's the backup plan. We'll use this if we have to.
But then comes the gutter guy.
Right. She engages with the gutter guy, the male with the high-quality genes. This triggers that intense, visceral, high-stakes orgasmic response. And physically, the orgasm functions completely differently here.
How so?
Contractions, the chemistry, it creates what is sometimes called an insuck.
An insuck.
Yes. The cervix actually dips into the seminal pool, and the contractions physically pull the sperm rapidly into the uterus. It sends that sperm on the priority delivery track.
Immediate use. No waiting.
Straight to the ovaries. The orgasm effectively gives that sperm a massive head start. It essentially vetoes the sperm that was waiting in storage. It says, skip the line, you're the VIP.
That is absolutely wild. It's like the body has its own opinion.
Yeah.
You, the conscious person, might be saying, I love my husband, he's a great guy, we're building a life.
Uh-huh.
But your biology's in the background going, yeah, he's nice, but have you seen the immune system on that guy on the motorcycle? We're taking hits.
It's a biological coup d'etat. The orgasm has the final say, and the source puts it really bluntly. Ladies, your orgasm was designed by evolution to subvert your rational plans.
It's a little terrifying to think about, honestly. This idea that we aren't in full control, that there's this subroutine just running in the background.
Well, that's the lesson of evolutionary biology in a nutshell, isn't it? We are the passengers, the genes are driving the bus, and if you think humans are bad, we have to talk about the birds.
Oh, the birds. This is section 2 of our deep dive, and honestly, this ruined my childhood perception of nature. Just a little bit.
Chuckles. It tends to do that. Birdwatching is never quite the same after you read this kind of research.
Because we look at birds and we think family values.
Yeah.
You know, they build a nest together, they feed the chicks together.
Totally.
The source says 92% of bird species are socially monogamous compared to only 5% of mammals. So birds are supposed to be the gold standard for faithfulness, right?
That was the assumption for a very, very long time. Ornithologists would look at these sweet love birds, as the source calls them, raising nestlings next to their neighbors, and it looked like a suburban utopia.
Wholesome.
Very wholesome. The male brings the worm, the female warms the eggs. It's a lovely picture.
But then came the DNA tests.
Then came the DNA tests, and everything changed. There's a specific study mentioned by a German ornithologist named Wolfgang Forstmeier. He was studying dusky warblers.
Dusky warblers. Sounds like a country band.
A country band with a lot of drama. So Forstmeier does what no one had really bothered to do before in such detail. He runs genetic panels on all the chicks and all the nests. He assumes, obviously, that the male feeding them is the father.
A reasonable assumption.
You'd think. But the result was just shocking. 45% of the nestlings were not sired by the female's mate.
45%. That is almost half.
Almost half the chicks were fathered by the next-door neighbors.
So wait, let's just paint the picture here. You have the male dusky warbler. He is working his tail feathers off. He's finding worms. He's building the nest. He's protecting the territory from hawks. And meanwhile, what is the female doing?
She's operating a very, very calculated strategy. She has married this male because he's good at those things. He's a good provider. He has good nesting instincts.
The rock.
The rock. But biologically, she spots a neighbor, maybe a male with a longer tail, brighter colors, something that signals better genes.
The bird equivalent of a leather jacket and a motorcycle.
Exactly. So while her husband is out foraging or babysitting the eggs, she sneaks off. The source calls it illicit boinking.
Illicit boinking.
She has a quick tryst behind a bush, with the sexy neighbor, then comes right back to the nest like nothing happened.
And the husband raises the neighbor's kids, none the wiser.
He does. And here's the thing that's so incredible. This behavior was so covert, so secretive, that human observers didn't even catch it until the genetics revealed the truth. It fooled the scientists, so it definitely fooled the male birds.
But the male birds aren't stupid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, evolution works on them too. If they were getting cuckolded half the time, shouldn't they evolve some kind of defense?
They absolutely did. And this is where you see the male paranoia strategy emerge. The source describes the male bird as a harried cuckold.
Tickles.
Harried cuckold. Because of this constant threat of adultery. Male behavior changed. They became paranoid. They dart around, they spy on their mates, they herd them.
So all that chirping and dive bombing, this is not just, I love you and this is my tree. It's, where are you going? Who are you talking to? Get back here.
It's mate guarding. It's jealousy encoded into survival instincts. The male chirps his territory to warn off rivals. He dive bombs anyone who gets too close. Because the moment he stops for a rest, the moment he takes a nap, the female is liable to duck away for a genetic upgrade.
It's a constant arms race. She evolves to cheat more quietly. He evolves to watch her more closely.
It's a spy thriller happening in your backyard.
Wow. And this leads us to the why. Why take the risk? Why cheat with the neighbor with the long tail? What's the actual payoff? Because if the husband catches her, he might abandon the nest, and then all the babies die. So the reward must be huge.
It has to be. And this brings us to the sexy son strategy, which, again, sounds like another band name, but is actually a very serious scientific theory.
The sexy son hypothesis.
It is, and it's a fascinating evolutionary loop. Let's say there's an arbitrary trait, like a long, colorful tail on a bird. It doesn't help them fly better. In fact, it might make it harder to fly, more visible to predators.
So it's a handicap.
It's a handicap, but for whatever reason, females find it attractive. It's a signal of genetic fitness. I'm so healthy I can survive despite this ridiculous tail.
Okay.
If a female mates with a male who has that sexy tail, her sons will inherit that tail.
Right. Makes sense.
And because other females also find that tail sexy, her sons will be very, very successful at mating. They will have lots of offspring.
So by hooking up with the bad boy bird, she is ensuring her grandsons and great-grandsons exist.
Yes. She is spreading her genes more effectively into the future by producing sexy sons who will seduce more females in the next generation. It's a self-perpetuating cycle.
It's a feedback loop.
It is, and the source puts it great. It creates a world of bad boy birds cruising around looking for gutters to clean out, while the husband birds are at home working.
And the source gives a really concrete example of this with lizards, the side-blotch lizards. This part was incredible because the female lizards seem to be doing, like, advanced calculus.
It really does seem that way. So in side-blotch lizards, you have two basic types of males. You have the wealthy males. These are guys with large territories, lots of rocks for hiding babies. They are the providers.
The landlords of the lizard
The
world.
landlords. And then you have the buff males. They don't have much land, but they have great bodies, and they do push-ups.
They literally do push-ups.
Literally. It's a territorial and fitness display. So the female has a choice, and just like the birds, she often marries the wealthy male for the rocks. She needs the shelter for her eggs.
The resources.
The resources. But she secretly meets with the buff male.
But here's the real twist. The source says she sorts the sperm based on the sex of her offspring. How is that even possible?
This is one of those biological capabilities that seems like magic. The source details that these lizards, without the orgasmic hoopla of humans, have a highly sophisticated sperm sorting mechanism.
Okay, break it down for me.
When she uses the sperm from the buff male, the bad boy, she uses it specifically to create sons.
Whoa.
But when she uses the sperm from the property owner male, the husband, she uses it to make daughters.
That is unbelievably strategic. It's diabolical.
Think about the logic. If she has a son, she wants him to be a seducer. She wants him to be buff so he can go out and get mates.
A sexy son.
A sexy son. But if she has a daughter, she wants her to be attracted to resources. She wants her to marry a property owner who can protect her future eggs.
So she uses the genetic material to optimize the future mating strategy of her children based on their sex.
Exactly. She wants sexy sons and practical daughters, and she creates them using different fathers. It completely redefines what we think of as mating. It's not just mixing DNA, it's genetic engineering on the fly.
Well, so we've got the sexy son strategy, but is that the only benefit? Because the source also talks about health, immunity. And this brings us to section 4, The benefits of adultery when it comes to the immune system.
Right. The sexy son thing is all about reproductive success down the line, but there's also a more immediate survival benefit. The source goes back to birds here, specifically red-winged blackbirds.
And it categorizes them into moral and immoral colonies. That seems a bit judgy for science.
It's just shorthand. But yes, they observed different cultures among these birds. In the morally deprived colonies, you had an 18% adultery rate. And in those colonies, nearly half, 48% of the nestlings were from those adulterous unions.
So cheating was common, and it was successful.
Very. Now, in the morally upright colonies, the adultery rate was lower, about 6%, and only 23% of nestlings were from adulterous pairings.
Okay, but then there's this incredible anecdote about the vasectomy.
Decals, yes.
Yeah.
I love this detail. The source says, I want to meet the graduate student who gives a bird a vasectomy.
Imagine explaining that thesis project to your parents. So what do you know with your PhD? Well, I'm performing microsurgery on blackbird testicles.
Mom, Dad, I'm off to snip some blackbirds. But the point of the experiment was absolutely crucial. They gave the husband birds vasectomies. So technically, the females married to them should have had 0 babies.
Right. He's shooting blanks.
Exactly. But they didn't have 0 babies. They still produced offspring. Miraculous conceptions, as the source jokingly calls them.
Which proves they were cheating no matter what.
It proves that no matter the morality of the colony, the drive to secure outside genes is incredibly strong. Even when the husband is sterile, the female finds a way. But the real payoff, the why, was found in the blue throat birds.
The blue throats, okay.
In that species, they found that chicks sired by the adulterous lovers, the extra pair males, had significantly more active and robust immune systems than the chicks sired by the husbands.
So the chi babies were healthier.
They were stronger, they could fight off disease better, their chances of survival were higher.
This sounds exactly like that famous T-shirt study in humans.
It's the exact same principle. The T-shirt study, for anyone who doesn't know, involved women smelling T-shirts worn by men for a few days.
Yep.
And consistently, women preferred the smell of men whose immune systems, specifically their MHC genes, were most different from their own.
Complementary, not similar.
Right. Because if you mix 2 very different immune systems, you get a baby with a much broader defense against disease. The source is suggesting that when a female bird or a human sneaks off with a lover, she isn't just looking for sexy. She is unconsciously sniffing out a better immune profile for her offspring.
So again, it comes back to marry for resources, mate for genes. The husband provides the food in the nest, but the lover provides the immunity against the flu.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the female body knows this, even if the conscious brain is just thinking, wow, he smells good.
Okay, we've done birds, we've done lizards. Now we have to talk about our closest cousins, the chimpanzees. Section 5.
Chimps are fascinating because their social structure is so intense, and the mating strategy is, well, it's a lot.
It's a lot. The source describes the norm for chimp females as the concubine strategy, but on steroids. It's promiscuous and very public.
Yes, a free-for-all. A female chimp in estrus, when she's receptive, will mate with pretty much everyone in the group. It's not subtle.
But there is an exception. The tryst.
The tryst. This is the chimp version of a romance novel.
Chuckles, a secret affair.
Normally, everything is public, but sometimes a female will sneak off with a male, and interestingly, it's often a low-status male, not the alpha. They go off into the forest, away from the prying eyes of the group, and they have private, quiet sex.
Which is really dangerous, right?
Highly dangerous. The source notes that other chimps view this private sex as an abomination. It breaks the social rules. If the alpha male catches them, there is almost certain to be violence. But they do it anyway.
And the efficiency stats here are just mind-boggling. Can you break down the numbers for us?
This is where the power of female choice becomes absolutely undeniable. So researchers looked at the DNA outcomes of all this mating. The trysts, these secret romantic getaways, accounted for only about 2% of all the mating acts.
Just a tiny fraction.
A tiny fraction. But that 2% of sex resulted in 50% of the offspring.
Wait, say that again. 2% of the sex leads to 50% of the babies.
Yes. Half the babies came from these secret 2% encounters.
That is incredible efficiency. That's not random.
Not at all. Now compare that to the dominant males, the alphas. They got about 25% of the total sex, mostly by bullying others away and guarding the female.
Okay.
They also got about 50% of the offspring.
Okay, so being the bully works too. You get half the kids.
It works, yes.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. That leaves the free-for-all. The public promiscuous mating that accounts for 73% of all the sex happening in the group. Do the math. If trysts are 50% of babies and alphas are 50% of babies.
Then the 73% of free-for-all sex results in 0 babies, or close to it.
Almost zero. Very, very few.
So the female chimp is having sex 3/4 of the time with all these random males and getting pregnant almost never from those encounters.
Exactly. The source suggests this implies a powerful form of biological contraception, whether it's the timing of her orgasm, the rhythm method of when she accepts these males during her cycle, or hormonal shifts based on her emotional state. She is effectively preventing pregnancy from the randoms.
She's shutting it down. She's going through the motions.
She is. Her body wants sperm from the powerful, the alpha, and it wants sperm from the loved or the intimate, the tryst partner. She distinctly does not want sperm from just anybody, even though she is mating with everybody.
This brings up the dual favoritism. She's curating the genetics. But it begs the question, if she doesn't want their babies, why have sex with the 73% of randoms at all? Why go through all that trouble?
This leads to Section 6, and this is perhaps the darkest but most practical part of the entire strategy. Sluttiness, as the source provocatively calls it, as a social strategy.
It's not about pleasure, it's about politics.
It's about preventing infanticide.
In chimp society, and many primate societies, males have a terrible habit. If they see a baby that they know isn't theirs, or that they don't think is theirs, they often kill it, which eliminates the rival's genes and brings the female back into estrus so he can mate with her. The brutal logic.
Brutal but effective from his gene's perspective. So the female has a huge problem. She wants the best genes, which she gets from the alpha or the lover, but she needs safety from everyone else.
So the solution is confusion of paternity.
Exactly. If she sleeps with everyone.
Then every male thinks, hey, I slept with her around that time. That kid might be mine.
And if he thinks it might be his, he doesn't kill it.
He doesn't kill it.
And he might even feel a vague sense of fatherly protectiveness. The source has a great line. It takes a bunch of male chimps to make one decent father. No single male is a great dad, but if you aggregate them all by making them all think they might be the dad, you create a safety net for the baby.
So the free-for-all sex is basically an insurance policy against murder.
It is. It's social manipulation on a grand scale. Unbeknownst to the males, the sex they are having is not for procreation. It's a bribe. It's a peace treaty. It's a way to keep their aggression at bay.
But the physical toll on the female must be huge. I mean, the source mentions this vaguely, but the biology of it.
Oh, it's a massive burden. The source notes that females walk around with much of their body weight in sperm.
Groans. Oh, that is a visual I did not need.
It is. But think about the biological processing power required. She has to take in all this genetic material from dozens of males to keep the peace. But internally, her body has to run this massive bureaucracy.
Right.
It has to sort through all of it, reject the 73% she doesn't want, and select the specific genes from the alpha or the tryst partner that she does want. It's a high-stakes filtering process happening at a microscopic level, all while maintaining the social ruse on the outside.
And the source compares this to lemmings to show just how extreme the protection aspect is.
Yes, the lemming extreme. Lemmings aren't known for being the smartest animals on the planet.
Yo, famous for other things.
Famous for other things. But lady lemmings are highly promiscuous, and the data shows exactly why. In one study, a single male lemming killed 42% of the babies from females who had not had sex with him.
42%.
So if you skip a male in your promiscuous tour, there is almost a coin flip chance he kills your kids.
So you simply cannot afford to skip anyone. The risk is too high.
You can't. The conclusion is stark and a little grim. Sex saves babies. It is a defense mechanism against male aggression.
Wow. So when we zoom back out,
Mm.
we've gone from the gutter guy in the driveway to bird adultery to lizard sperm sorting to chimp politics. What is the big picture here for us humans?
The big picture brings us right back to that woman in the window.
The human connection.
We like to think of ourselves as moral, rational agents. We think we choose our partners based on shared values, humor, stability, and we do. Those are the wife-husband strategies. We want the resources and the care. But running in the background like a hidden operating system you didn't even know was installed is this biological imperative.
The unconscious trick.
The unconscious trick. The source suggests that while we are making those rational choices with our conscious minds, our biology, and specifically the orgasm, is working overtime to optimize our genetics. It is constantly scanning the environment for the gutter guy, for the sexy son traits, for the immune system upgrade.
It creates this incredible tension, the tension between the provider and the lover, the tension between the husband and the genetic donor. And it seems like the female body has evolved a very, very sneaky way to resolve that tension.
It has. It has evolved a way to potentially have both, even if it means fooling the conscious mind of the woman herself. There's a title of one of the source articles that says it all. Faked orgasms fool men, but real orgasms fool women.
Meaning the real orgasm is tricking you into prioritizing a genetic match that your logical brain might otherwise reject.
Exactly. Your body is vetoing your logic to save your DNA's future.
Well, that is certainly something to think about the next time you find yourself inexplicably attracted to someone who is objectively bad news.
Don't blame yourself. Blame your immune system.
Doc chuckles. Blame the immune system. I like that. So here's the final provocative thought to leave you with today. We've talked about how this biology manipulates us. But let's flip it. If that gutter guy fantasy isn't just a quirk, if it's not just a romance novel trope, but a biological imperative to upgrade the immune systems of the next generation, how much control do we really have over who we love or who we're attracted to?
It's a humbling thought, isn't it? That maybe our type isn't a personal preference at all, but an evolutionary mandate.
Are we just vessels for the next generation?
Vessels with a very, very complicated filing system.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a wild ride through the biology of infidelity.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time. Stay curious.